Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Today, we are celebrating the
Easter holiday weekend.
Sure, I was going to say the Our Lord is risen, but not.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you know anything about comics, sometimes they can be a little bit of a parody or sacrilegious
or blasphemous.
or blasphemous, whatever
Yeah.
word you want to say. But this is a comic that I can't remember if you read it before me.
Yes.
Okay. So I remember picking this up at the comic book store, or like looking at it and seeing it at the comic book store when I first started going there in like 2005. And this book just caught my eye because at the time John was a Catholic boy, and I think I told you about it, or you went to the store with me and you saw it and were like, "What is this?" Because the imagery is very Catholic, obviously. Well, I didn't say what the name of the book is yet, but you saw a book called
Battle Pope,
which is on the shelves. And this time, it was probably maybe Volume 1 was out. Maybe Volume 2 was coming out in issue form. And you probably saw like the new issues on the stand.
Yeah.
And it's a very muscular 90s action pose Pope with guns and stuff. So it just would strike your fancy as a young Catholic man.
Very much so. It's like he's got like a cigar, like he's like Wolverine or something, and he's like jacked, and he's got like guns at the hip, guns in his hands.
Yeah, pretty ridiculous. He's still got his Pope hat on. And everything.
He's in like he's got his robes and stuff, but and his little Pope hat.
Yeah, and so this one's interesting because not only the subject matter, but it's also written by Robert Kirkman, who you might know of Walking Dead fame and Invincible fame. I mean, he wrote 2 gigantic series.
So what you're saying is this one's coming next.
Yes.
New on AMC.
I can only imagine the new AMC show, Battle Pope, is coming out. I doubt that, but, maybe on HBO or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then it was also drawn by the guy who did Walking Dead for the first, I think, 6 or 10 issues, which was Tony Moore. Terry Moore. Terry Moore is a different person. Tony Moore, who is like a good artist, on Walking Dead and stuff. I was familiar with his work on that. He did another book, which we should do sometime, called Fear Agent, which is pretty fun as well. It's kind of like Black Science a little bit,
okay.
I think.
I like Black Science.
Yeah. It was before Black Science, so it was a little bit. Wait, is it Black Science written by Rick Remender?
I think so.
I think it's the same writer. That makes sense then. Maybe it was the same writer. Whatever. Anyway, we'll do that. But anyway, so yeah, John saw this book in like 2005 and was like, fell in love with it. Wouldn't stop talking about it. Loved it.
It's true. I have to say, and revisiting it now, like however many years later, good Lord.
15 years
15
later.
plus years later. I will say, I remembered it very fondly, and I remember as I was reading this, it's like, oh, and then this happens. I was like, when does this happen? When does this happen? I can't remember anything. So like, I know, like I was doing it issue by issue, and I must have read good, like, I don't know, 40 plus issues, maybe more. Just because
I don't think it's 40 issues long.
No? Okay.
I think I don't know. I could be wrong. I think there's 4 or 5 volumes of it that are 6 each. So.
6 each. Okay. Well, okay. So I might have read most or all of this.
Okay. Yeah. Probably all of it. If I had to get, maybe you didn't finish the last one or something.
But yeah, I definitely read a lot of it. Just because, like I said, as I was reading this, I was like, oh, when does that happen? Then I finished it. I was like, oh, I didn't see this or this, and so.
Well, you could fill us on some of those spoilers later at the end of it. But yeah, so this first volume is just issues 1 through 4 of Battle Pope. It's called Genesis, which is, appropriate. Yeah. So, and we start off with the Pope kind of talking about what happened when the apocalypse happened. He was left on Earth. We see he's in a bar drinking and there's all these demons and tables behind him and stuff, and he's like, man, this is ridiculous. I can't believe, how did my life go so bad? And we cut back to a flashback where he was a young pope, and it basically just shows that he was only to become a pope only to get the power and what that meant, like a comfortable life, a very comfortable life.
Yeah.
Women, drugs.
Yeah. In this, the Pope is very, he gets that. He's not pious at all. Yeah. It's not about religion, or it's not about God or like being holy. It's about like the power of the seat of the Pope. Exactly. It's like having that title and like the things that you get because you have the title. Like, oh, you're the Pope, huh?
Yeah, and we should also say this is definitely a mature comic, and if you're at all religious and care about the Pope or Catholic stuff, it'd probably make you mad, maybe, if you or just be aware that there are very sacrilegious, blasphemous things in this book on both ends, on like towards Jesus, towards the Pope, towards religion in general, or stuff like that. So,
it's very satirical, but very much like,
yeah, it is definitely it's comedic. That's the reason for it. But like, sometimes people don't see the comedy when they're talking about their religion. So, if you're at all religious and you care about that stuff, this one might not be for you.
Might not be your episode.
But like, and I only say that because literally when the Pope's talking about like how good it was to be Pope back before the apocalypse, it shows him like having sex with nuns pretty graphically.
Yep.
And he was like, this was great. And then all of a sudden he came and he's talking about God, and God, says like, the apocalypse is here. I'm judging all of you, prepare to be judged. And he looks and like no one passes muster. There's like 5 people that like go back up to heaven, and he's like, really? Like, come on. And that's the thing. Like, God is pretty like funny in this too, or like looked at in a funny light, where like he is God still. Like, he can do whatever he wants, but he's still like, I work in mysterious ways.
Yeah,
like,
that's. I will say, I think God is my favorite character next to the Pope in this series, because for one, I love how he's drawn in this. He's always a head, and then flowing hair, like beard and top hair.
Yeah,
and
it's
so
a
like
face. It's a floating face.
Yeah, floating face. And so like literally, if it was just God on the page, it would be his face like in the middle of the page, and then just white flowing hair from top to bottom everywhere. You don't see any hand, nothing else. I like the way that was drawn. It was fun.
It's like if you're like in a fish bowl and someone looks at you and they have hair like all over the place. Like,
that's perfect.
Bob Ross looked at a fish, he would just see a face and this giant poof of hair. Whatever, so like, that's what it's like, except flowing gray hair instead of an afro. But yeah, so the Pope is one of the ones who gets left behind because he does all this bad stuff, and I don't even know if he believed back then before. I don't know. Did he say?
He didn't really. Yeah, really.
It made it seem like he knew this was all just a power organization. It's not about actually believing in God or doing work, doing good stuff or whatever. So yeah, once the apocalypse happens, demons take over the earth. Lucifer, comes up with plans, but then I guess God shut the door. There was like a big.
So there was the Great War. Between like mortal and the demons, but then like I guess it went on for a really long time, and they actually I guess like killed a lot of people on both sides.
Yeah,
and they were like, well, let's sign a treaty. So there was a treaty between Earth and Hell. And so Hell like closed off his doors and was like, okay, we won't take any more in. We'll just kind of like,
we won't come back and forth. Like, we won't go to Earth a whole bunch.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be more like, we're not going to bring any more people here, and we're just going to like co-mingle and conjure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the Pope now lives here. He is not muscly Pope yet. He is just regular old fat old man Pope. And he is at the bar and he sees some girl getting harassed by some people, and he tells them to let her go, and they don't listen to him, and they actually sick one of their demon friends on the Pope, and the Pope just out of nowhere grabs. Or no, there's a sword on the wall that says "break in case of emergency" or whatever. Or
I think it's complaint department.
Complaint department. Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah, and he grabs it when he gets thrown against the bar, and he cuts off the demon's arm, and but the demon like holds a grudge against him. So like that was the end of the fight. But the demon's like, well, let's wait till that guy's out of the bar, and then we can like fuck him up.
Yeah, we'll like get the jump on him or whatever. And I did like so they did make a little point like to say that like so he's like kind of fat and like not in shape, but he's still like back in his
still
day,
able to fight demons.
Yeah, he still able to fight demons, and back in his day, he did like learn like kung fu or whatever from. It looked like Bruce Lee. I think
it was supposed to be Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
I think it was supposed to be.
They
Bruce
said
Lee.
Bruce, but
yes, I mean, and he was dressed like Bruce
Yeah,
Lee without a
so-
shirt on and everything.
so yeah, so they're trying to say like he definitely like is like a master fighter already a little bit too, like just to give him a little bit of
Yeah, just not the body of a hero or master fighter. So of course, after saving that girl, he like she threw herself at him and thanks, and he's like, oh yeah, of course, let's go back to my place and we'll fuck. And they have relations, and she's sleeping, and he's like, still got it. And as he's about to light his cigar, the demon that got his arm cut off bursts through the door, crashes through onto the bed and everything, and then tries to fight again with the Pope. And the Pope being naked now, he doesn't have his sword anymore. He doesn't have that sword, and he grabs like a cross off the wall and starts to hit the demon. But then he sees that the girl he had saved earlier is now been crushed to death by this demon. And then the demon, because the Pope got distracted by seeing the girl that he just made love to and saved being murdered, the demon punches through his body. And we see the cross says like made in Taiwan, and the demon's like, "You think this could stop me or whatever?"
Yeah,
because it's supposed to be like made in Taiwan. Like
it's like a reprint. And
this is not a useful cross, like. And so the demon kills him, and then someone comes out of nowhere and shoots the demon through the chest, and we see that someone is Jesus H. Christ is what his name is in this, but it's supposed to be Jesus, and I gotta say, he's my favorite character in this book because he's ridiculous. He's basically the dude from the Big Lebowski, where he just like is kind of an idiot, but also gets lucky sometimes with what's going on. He says funny things, so like, and he's dressed the same way.
Oh yeah, he's got like a T-shirt on that says "What would I do?" Yeah, and then like a Hawaiian shirt, and like I love he's got like short shorts.
Yeah, he's got like if you're gonna live on an island and you were like a beach bum, you wear these like cut off short shorts where like the pockets are sticking out of underneath the bottoms of them and stuff like that. But like he saves the day, and he actually brings the Pope back to life and heals him along with God. And then they tell God, or God tells him because he's like, "Why am I brought back to life?" And like, "Well, we have a mission for you."
Yeah, it's not your time.
Yeah, it's not your time. Well, what happened was we had a general named Michael that was on the earth. That's like Archangel Michael.
Yeah.
That was kind of like just making sure the devil kept up their bargain in hell with the earth humans and everything. And he got kidnapped by Lucifer. So we need you to go rescue him from Lucifer, and like that's your job. So as part of that, he's going to give you powers as far as like muscles and a sword, all weapons and everything. So yeah, he makes him super buff, like a jacked 90s character. He looks like Supreme basically.
Yeah.
But with the Pope's face and hat. Now, I don't know enough about the Pope because I'm not Catholic. I wasn't raised Catholic. Was this what the Pope looked like at the time? Is a different Pope?
Yeah, I would say so this is right around
it's supposed to be John Paul, right?
Yeah, it would be either right before or right after Pope John Paul died. So that who was widely Pope John Paul II will be widely considered in Catholicism as one of like the greater popes of the last several
Popiest Pope.
One of the popiest popes. They rushed very hard to canonize him, which is to make him a saint, quote unquote, in the eyes of the Catholic Church. And he traveled a lot and he tried to be a good person, as they say.
As good as a pope could be.
As good as a pope could be. And yeah, so they kind of make him look like that. Reading this comic, one of the things I did want to say is like, so yeah, they kind of make him look like that. But as I read this and see him, all I can hear in my head is like Ed Asner's voice. as this Pope.
I could see that. Ed Asner, or like the leader of the A team is kind of what I thought.
Oh yes, yeah.
He's always smoking a cigar and stuff. Yeah.
Love it when I play. Yeah,
yeah.
And then like you said, the dude. I was like a cross between like the dude and Donnie, for
for Jesus. Yeah.
Just because every once in a while, sometimes Jesus is like, "Oh, come on, man! Like, what are you like?"
Yeah, why are you being so mean?
Sometimes sometimes the Pope's a little quite harsh to the Son of God.
Yeah. Yeah, you would think he'd be more respectful of Jesus H. Christ.
Yeah. but yeah, like, so the Pope's outfit's kind of fun too, because it's kind of like a cross between what the Pope would wear and like a Knight of Templar. So it's fun. And then like fucking, jacked out with weapons, and his fucking Pope
got pouches.
Pope belt buckle.
Yes.
Big, says Pope.
It's pretty fantastic. But yeah, so he gets endowed with powers. We see the demon that Jesus just shot actually come back to life, because apparently demons just continue to live even if they get shot or torn apart and whatnot. So, which makes sense, I guess, because they're demons. But yeah, so then we cut to hell, where we get to see Lucifer actually has Michael tied up, and he's enacting his plan. We don't quite know what his plan is yet, but we just see that he's tied up Michael, and who's naked in this weird like chamber or whatever.
Well, there's definitely a lot of nudity and or like sexuality. Lucifer's pretty much only just wearing like tight leather pants for most of this.
Yeah,
until he gets naked later, and then
everybody gets naked.
Everybody, pretty much everybody but Jesus, I think, at some point is naked in this.
Yeah. So then we just cut back after we see that. Oh yeah, Satan or Lucifer's really, got Michael, and he's got a plan. He sends after like he hears the demon got killed. He was like, oh, well, I'll send 2 zombie twins who are his acolytes or whatever to kill the Pope and take care of him.
Yeah, they're interesting. They're kind of like zombie, half like they have like robotic stuff on them too. So it's different.
Sure,
they're a little weird, but
they're weird. I'll say that. I was like, what? This one was definitely like a huh.
These were the weirdest of like the creatures and people he fights. So
that, and just the weirdest section of this book.
Yeah,
but yeah. So anyway, he sends the zombies after them, and of course, the Pope's like, we got to find out where Satan's home base is, and Jesus is like, well, I know where it is because I'm Jesus, and he's like, no, I will find it, and he like is talking to Jesus while he's looking out over the city.
Very like Zap Brannigan, like,
yes. Yeah.
Oh, is that right, Kip? All right. Well, anyway, let's do this thing.
And apparently, Jesus says Lucifer isn't in hell; he's in this place called Hell Corp.
Yeah, Hell Corp on Earth.
I guess it's on Earth. Yeah. So because I guess the doors to hell are shut. So I don't know how exactly that works, but whatever. I guess because it's the apocalypse.
Yeah, and so hell is still hell. But like you said, there's no new people coming into it, so just whatever's been going on that's what's going on down there. And then, Lucifer, I guess, I'm sure he goes between. But he is Hellcorp on Earth, which is his headquarters there or whatever.
Yeah. So the zombies come upon them while they're looking at this building top, and they fight, and they seem pretty like up to the task of beating them up or whatever. Jesus and one of them fall off the ledge of the building, and actually like they survive because of course it's Jesus and they're zombies, so like they're still alive, but they're just fighting each other. And the Pope has like an Azrael spike, which I thought was funny, on his glove, and he stabs one of the zombies through the face and throws him off the edge, and then he's able to just jump down. I guess with his new powers he could just jump off of a building and it doesn't kill him or anything.
Yeah.
So he jumps on the zombies, and then they do something that I thought was a bit ridiculous, but I guess could be considered funny, which is they say, "Zombie twins unite," just like Wonder Twin powers activate, and but the funny thing is they kind of form into just like this big jumble of arms, limbs, legs, and
it doesn't look like it would be
mass.
good for fighting at all.
No. I mean, it's literally like a giant mass of torsos that are like crammed together with heads and arms and legs, but only one arm is actually what they're standing on. So like it's pretty obviously not a good way to fight someone, unbalanced on one arm. So the Pope is able to punch them, and then they get into trouble because they're like, what? How could you defeat us as the, amalgam twin, the Wonder Twins or whatever? And they use their special power to call up all the dead, like all the dead in the area. So like everybody from graves and shit start to rise, and fly around the town, and they form into basically like the end of Ghostbusters, like Stay Puft Marshmallow, but it's not. It's just
it's like one giant zombie made up of a bunch
multiple
of
dead
multiple tiny zombies.
Yeah. So, and I thought this was going to be a little bit more hard for him, but he's basically able to just defeat this thing fairly easily.
Well, so he looks like he's going to defeat it, but he is having a hard time. But the best part is Jesus gets taken, and he's like, "Oh man, he's got me, dude!" And he eats Jesus, like the giant zombie eats Jesus, and then he's like, "Oh," like he's like his stomach's upset or something, and then Jesus explodes him from the inside, and the only explanation we get from this happens a couple times where it looks like Jesus is in trouble, and it's like, "Oh God," and then Jesus gets out of it however he gets out.
Yeah, it's like a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah,
that's what I meant by they just beat him easily, because it's like, okay, why doesn't Jesus just do that every time then?
And Pope's like, "Gosh, how did you do that?" He's like, "Jesus Christ, man! Like, I'm the Son of God.
I'm the Son of God. What are you gonna do?"
Yeah, like what?
So they defeat this like, giant zombie made of corpses, and they just happen to appear like pretty much right in front of Hellcorp when that happened, and so then out of nowhere someone says like, I'm back to fight you. And it's that demon that killed the girl that he slept with at the beginning. And now he's got like a robot arm because his arm got cut off. And it's just, they just fight. And then the Pope is able to cut him in half, like from the stomach area. So like.
Now he has no legs. And his torso falls over and his legs are still standing. So it's just like these bad guys are pretty easily defeated. Yeah.
Especially coming from Lucifer. But they go to Hellcorp, and right when they walk in, like they're confronted by much more much more demons and stuff that are, of course, in this place. And Lucifer is busy taking a bubble bath when one of his acolytes runs in and says, "Lucifer, they're here. Like they got here and your zombies failed, and
we need to start your plan now."
Yeah, we got to start your plan. So we find out later what the plan was. Is there's a machine that Lucifer has made because the angels have halos, right? So
yeah, this was the crux of this is very silly.
This is the crux of like why this book has a story. So angels have halos, and it turns out halos are what give them power.
Huh.
So the halos have a lot of power stored in them, but they're tied to the life force of an angel. So Lucifer has made a machine that will take the halo from an angel,
keep the angel alive.
Yes.
But then he can take the halo and
wear it himself while the angel is barely alive. And that gets so he can use the power of the halo.
Yeah, so basically he'll have all of his... He is Lucifer, so he has all of his... and apparently demons also get power in their horns. But he is Lucifer, so he has all of that power, and he's got his horns, and then he'll put his halo on top of his head and be like...
double power.
Double power. Be like, he'll be as strong as God, he basically says.
Or stronger.
Yeah. Who knows?
He claims that, yeah. So, well, the interesting thing about this is, I mean, I'm just going by lore here, but isn't Lucifer an angel, and why would his halo be gone?
His halo would be gone because when he was cast out, they took it away from him.
God took it, but then when he die, doesn't that mean he's dead?
But no, so that's what it is. It's when you're an angel that get cast out, it breaks and then it gets implanted in your head and it becomes the horn.
And that's where your horns scabs over, and those are the horns. Scabs over. Okay,
see,
perfect.
Look at that. I literally just saw that.
John, you just made up some Bible mythology.
Yep, that's in the
book of John,
King John's version.
Yeah, King John. It's John 4. John 4 wrote that. So the Pope and Jesus are captured eventually by all these big guys that are in that room, like the demons and stuff. One of them's kind of funny. He's got like a machine gun that shoots spikes out of it, and it just happens to nail Jesus to a cross.
Yeah, it crucifies him again.
In a crucifixion pose or whatever. And he's like, "Are you okay, Jesus?" He's like, "Yeah, it happens sometimes," or whatever. like it's not the first time this has happened, but
he is definitely the best comic relief in it.
Yeah, for sure. And so Lucifer and the Pope start to fight because, of course, the Pope is gonna not give up right away. But he basically unveils his major plans to steal the halo, and he turns the machine on in front of the Pope, and it works. It pulls the halo from Michael, and he puts it on Lucifer puts it on his head, and then he becomes purple, and it makes him
become super Lucifer.
Super Lucifer. And
I do have to say, during all this, there's one other thing. It's a very small side plot, but it comes back in other things too. Is that again, because the Pope is shown off to be kind of a ladies' man. The Lucifer killed a lot of his minions, but he has like his sexy female minions down there still, and he's like one kind of like side main, like right hand female. I don't remember her name. I don't
Succubus.
Probably. And it's funny because like the Lucifer's like talking about his plan, and Pope kind of sees her, and he's like, "Hey, what's up? You got a little Pope in you?
Catch you later."
She's like, "Ew, get it, like, can you like?"
I think she was into it.
No, at first she was like, "Ooh," but then it's like he's so persistent, and then I guess maybe a ladies' man a bit.
Yes,
that she's like, "Not right now."
Yeah, later. Come back later.
Yeah,
but yeah, in the middle of this fight, like the Pope is losing, and then he just kind of disappears. I don't know why.
I think Lucifer's like, "I don't want to deal with this anymore," and he drags him down to hell. He has like something pulled.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not understand that because like tentacles come up from the floor, and I just thought that was Lucifer grabbing him, but then I didn't realize that he pulled him down into hell, and that's how he got there. So, yeah, the Pope gets pulled down in the middle of this fight. Jesus is left in this room of Hell Corp or whatever with Lucifer, and the Pope gets pulled down into hell. And of course, he wakes up at first, he's like, "Where the hell am I? It's really hot here. What kind of place has the heat on, this time of day or whatever?" And he goes in and he sees, oh, of course, it's hell. And I should just say hell is big Cthulhu tentacle monsters with fire and brimstone, of course. And then Teletubbies is on a giant TV that is playing 24/7, I'm assuming. So that was funny. But the Pope, he's there, but like the demons try to get him, and he's able to defeat them because he's still got his powers. And so he like beats him up, and then like he's like, "Man, I got to get some tail or whatever," because of course he's always trying to fuck. And then this like she beast demon comes over and is like, "Hey fella, you looking for some action?" And she literally looks
very Rick and Morty, like,
yeah,
what's going on?
Yeah, I guess yeah, depending on how I can totally see that. But yeah, so he's like, when in Rome, and so he has sex with this demon, and then he gets woken up all of a sudden. She's like, wake up, my dad's
here. Oh no.
Yeah, and he's like, "What? You're jailbait?" And then like runs out. So the dad chases him, and he's like, "I probably should have left after the first time or whatever," because he had sex with her 3 times or something. So like, yeah, it was just ridiculous. There's kind of like a Pope montage where it's just him in hell, his time in hell.
Yeah, and it's supposed to show like, oh man, he's here and he's trying to get out.
He's been here for a while.
Yeah, like it slowly shows like he's getting scruff, and then he gets a full little like nice like white beard on his face, and he's trying to figure out. He's like, I've been here so long, and he keeps like running into different creatures or different things, trying to either fight him or like be like, oh yeah, you can get out, go that way or whatever, and he ends up there's like a field of people that are crucified that are like,
and apparently every day they just get eaten by a demon.
Yeah.
And then the demon's like, well, I'm done. It's kind of like Looney Tunes where there's like a coyote that clocks in and a dog that clocks in.
That's exactly what I thought. He was like, hey Bob, hey Joe, click the card and like, all right, time to eat your guts.
Yeah. That's basically it. Because the guy even says like, he's like, let me get you out of here. And the guy's like, no, it's fine. Like Randy and me are cool. He's like, Randy? He's like, yeah. I mean, I've known him for a really long time. He's a good guy. He's got a family and stuff. And, it doesn't hurt that bad anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm so used to it now. It doesn't hurt.
Yeah. And so, like, he's like, all right. And then they kind of talk. And then he says, hey, do you know how I can get out of here? He's like, yeah, just go through that door. Where, like, Cerebus is guarding the door that they locked.
Yeah, the actual, like, gates of hell.
To get to Earth. Yeah, the gates of hell. And so the Pope's like, okay. And there was no struggle or anything. He's able to beat Cerebus.
From the look of the panel, I thought maybe he neutered him. That's what kind of.
Oh
makes
yeah,
it
he
look
is
like.
grabbing. Yes, there's an axe, and he's grabbing. The dog is grabbing his nuts. So
That's why I thought maybe it made it seem like I was like, because I was like, that's like, how do you defeat a big, big dog? That's I assume
chop his balls off.
Yeah, make it.
Okay, well, so yeah, I guess that's what it was. They didn't really say that, but I get from now that you say that. Okay, that's what it makes. It makes sense that that's what's going on in the.
I'm trying to imply Robert Kirkman like teenage humor here.
Sure, there you go. So he gets into Earth. Or gets out to Earth, I guess, and it's on fire. Everything's burning. But you got to remember, this was the apocalypse anyway. So he gets out and he's like, oh, my God, how long has it been? And they're like, 15 seconds. Like,
yeah, God pops up.
God pops up, and he's literally just like, it's only been 15 seconds. Like, this is just, Lucifer has barely, like, done anything with the power yet. I mean, yes, the city's burning and stuff, but that's just, it's the apocalypse.
Just how
so,
it is.
It's what's going on. So God is like, well, okay, we need you to like power up because you can't beat Lucifer with a halo. So I'm going to give you your own halo. And he's like, these things just, he's like, really? How'd you get this? He's like, are you kidding me?
They're like coasters up here.
Yeah, they're just all over the place. They're litter on the ground when you're walking in heaven or whatever. So he gives the Pope one of these halos, and then
he hides it. He puts it under his.
He puts it under his Pope hat because you don't want to give away all your tricks or whatever.
Yeah.
So then we cut back to Lucifer in the hell. What's the name of the place?
Hellcorp.
And Jesus is in. He's like stowed away in the background. He's like, I guess Lucifer kind of forgot about him because he wasn't doing the fighting and stuff. So Jesus is able to kind of sneak around, stay not hidden, but just probably like not on Lucifer's radar. He's got other things going on, and he's actually talking to Michael, and he says, like, hey, like I can get you out of this. And Michael's basically like, no, I need you to just like shoot me in the head because the power is in that halo as long as I'm alive.
Yeah.
So if you could just kill me, that would be great. And like, he's about to do it. He's about to pull the trigger. And then all of a sudden the Pope bursts through the wall and is like, I'm back or whatever. And I'm going to take you on. So then there's a big epic fight between Lucifer and the Pope. And yeah, I mean, it just kind of goes on a bit where they're just fighting back and forth, and you think, oh my God, this is it. And then the Pope is able to pretty much take him on now with the halo, though.
Yeah, they go back and forth, and they both kind of keep getting a little bulkier and a little bulkier as it goes, and especially Lucifer. And
Lucifer,
like I said, this is
Lucifer gets like abomination levels.
Yeah, he basically rips out. This is where I say he gets naked because he really like rips out of his like leather pants, and he's like, yeah, like abomination, gigantic.
Yeah, he's got tiny little wings. I'm like, he couldn't use those wings anymore. But yeah, basically they're saying that like with the power that the halo has given him, it's like his body's getting bigger, but his brain is getting dumber or something. So
yeah, and it's also attached to it. So we find out as they're fighting, and like the Pope goes to like try to stab him, and he's like, "Oh, I think it works," because he like starts to like rumble or whatever, and then he explodes. But we find out that it wasn't actually necessarily because he got stabbed. It was because Lucifer doesn't have a heart, and like the halo is also attached. It's also
like that's where it gets its real power is from the heart
of the
angel or whatever.
Yeah,
so which doesn't make any sense because angels don't have hearts. Probably, I assume.
You're assuming, sir. You don't know angel.
Well, they don't have anatomy.
An angel. Well, they don't have wieners. We learned that from Dogma, but
true.
But I'm sure they have heart. You have to have a heart
to what?
To show compassion and love, like angels do.
All right. All right. Anyway,
I've also seen the movie Michael with John Travolta, and I know that
I've seen a lot of other medias that are about angels that don't have the same kind of angels as Michael.
That's true.
Supernatural. I'm just throwing these out there, you know.
All
Constantine.
All of my angel-based stuff is from Touched by an Angel, that I watch with my.
Those fuckers touch a lot of people.
They touch a lot of people.
They need to keep their hands to themselves.
They're talking about these groomers in Florida. Well, those angels touched a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so that, and then I don't know how many times I've seen that movie, Michael, with John Travolta. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It's worth
It's not.
It's worth a single watch,
John. I guarantee you.
No, it is worth a single watch.
No,
because it's also got Andie MacDowell, and it's got.
I don't even know who that is.
Yes, you do. She's in every '90s movie. She's like the heart. She's like the plainish country girl. She's very pretty, but she's got the plainish.
What else has she been
girl. In? 4 Weddings and a Funeral. My Best Friend's Wedding. She's in.
I generally don't watch movies with wedding in the title.
Okay, she's also in. Groundhog's Day. She's the main love interest in Groundhog's Day.
Okay, that's all you had to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I did. Well, and then Oh, I feel so bad. What's his face that just died? General Ross from the MCU.
The guy. Okay.
Yeah. I feel why.
I don't know his name, but yes.
Okay, I feel bad. He just passed. He's in it too. His character growth in that whole movie is one of my favorite things. He's so cynical, and he definitely does not believe he's an angel. He's like, this is dumb. Let me see your wings.
He's correct. It is dumb.
Yeah, it is.
The movie is dumb.
It is. Anyway, well.
Anyway, John
Travolta.
John loves Michael, the movie about an angel.
I'm surprised that John Travolta. I wonder maybe he wasn't Battlefield Earth. What is he?
A Scientologist?
Yeah, maybe he wasn't a Scientologist yet.
No, he was.
He was? Why did he do Michael then?
Because it's an acting job. You can act as an angel.
Yeah, but Battlefield Earth is about his history, whereas Michael's.
I would rather watch Battlefield Earth than Michael. Right? Just saying. Just going out on a limb there. If you haven't watched Battlefield Earth, watch that movie. It is, and watch it while you're drunk and with friends. Yeah. You know what? If you're going to watch Michael, watch it back to back with Battlefield Earth. Be drunk and have friends and make fun of both of them, because that is the proper way to watch most John Travolta movies.
That's what we're doing for our next movie.
So anyway,
back to Battle.
Lucifer explodes while being stabbed. And now this scene was weird because there's no like motion of the Pope grabbing his sword. There's just a panel where he's already stabbed him through the chest. So I wasn't sure what was going on, because the stab is pretty like lit up and everything. You can't really see what. There's no sword through his back. It says Thok above him where the sword is stabbing through, but it's that Thok is blocking the blade.
Yeah.
So I didn't see a stab coming through.
It happens a couple times in this. The transition of time and or like the action of movements are pretty.
It's
not quite like worked out as well.
Yeah.
In this
They're obscured, or they're just not thought as well as they should have been through. Like they happen and they just expect you to like follow it, without really showing you the correct way of, or without doing their job, kind of showing you like how comics are supposed to guide the eye and stuff. They're missing that a little bit in this comic. So, but anyway, it explodes, or Lucifer explodes. They get the halo back. Michael gets the halo and is like, "Good job." And then, of course, like God comes and he's like, "Hey, I know you did a good job, but also like you kind of fucked up because you were just supposed to save Michael, and because you fucked up in the first place and had to go to hell, like he actually got super powered and all this stuff. So, like you still failed, but you succeeded, kind of both. You did both, and that's like basically where they leave it. And God says, "Well, you did earn your salvation, so like let's go back to heaven." And the Pope's like, "You know what? I like it here. Actually, I'm just gonna stay on Earth."
He's like, "But I also should." He's like, "I probably should try to save." At least that's his like cover. He's
sure,
like,
he just wants to fuck. Obviously,
should probably try to save some of these other people. No,
yeah, these ladies.
And he's like,
saving.
I guess. I mean, I guess Earth kind of needs a protector. I mean, as long as Michael doesn't mind. Michael's like, I could use some R&R. Right?
Yeah. He's like, you could stay here. I'll just go back to heaven. So the Pope is left on Earth with Jesus. I guess Jesus hangs out.
He's like, Jesus, you stay here and watch over him.
Yeah, and they fight crime and fuck broads. That's what.
And that is literally, and that was what I was gonna say is like, oh, this didn't happen, because I remember small little bits as far as. So Lucifer's not fully dead. Lucifer is like, he has to heal and stuff later, but of course he's not dead. And I think Lucifer sends like his right hand lady after Battle Pope and whatnot. But then she and Battle Pope have basically a secret affair behind Lucifer, and she's very much attracted to him. And they do it a lot.
This is in future volumes.
This is future volumes, yeah. Yeah, so this one ends with like an action shot of Jesus, Jesus and the Pope like Dark Knighting it, like, haha, we're, to duty calls.
Yeah.
And then, in the future, like, so it's more of that. It's more of fighting demons. He does save some people along the way. And he gets other little side missions from God. God will be like, hey, I need you to do this, or hey, I need you to work with this. Like he works with Gabriel at one point. He works with Mary at one point. Jesus' mom. That one was really funny because like Jesus' mom comes and she's very like, she's in like all her robes and looks very like holy, like some of the candles you've probably seen, the prayer candles. You just kind of see her hands and like she's just encompassed in robes. and like in front of God and Jesus, and they're like, "Oh, it's good to see you, Mom." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, you work with Pope, and like you guys have to do this special mission or whatever, and like I'll be back to check later or whatnot." And like Jesus is like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go grab some food or whatever. I'll talk to you later." And like Jesus and God leaves the room, and like Mary's robes open, all flowing, and she's wearing like it's like skin tight like lingerie kind of stuff, and it's like, "Hey, I heard like through the grapevine, like you were you're the
lover,
yeah, something like that, yeah." And yeah, so the Pope
bangs Mary.
Let's just say Mary's no longer a virgin. And yeah, it just the more and more that you, like I said, that you could think of blasphemous and ridiculousness stuff that happens. Any kind of like major biblical person like John the Baptist, like most of the disciples, some of the other kings of hell, I think he goes up against too. But yeah, like I remember a lot of like little points like that throughout that he, as the adventure continues, quote unquote, of Battle Pope. So it is, it gets more and more ridiculous.
Does it tie in? Like, do some of the stuff that like do the zombie twins come back? Do they? Does that demon that got cut in half?
Yes,
is he coming back later?
That demon does come back, because I do remember like he has robot legs later, and then I think because when he gets torn in half, some kids actually like run off with his legs, and he's like, "Oh man!" And so he has to get robot legs, and I think by the end, I think he basically like half of his face is original, and I think like part of his torso.
He's like cyborg,
but he's like basically more cyborg than he's I just every time he goes up against the Pope, he loses another like appendage.
Yeah, okay. So I let it's weird because like
running jokes.
If you just if it's running like an ongoing thing, I kind of like it's charming or whatever that it's at the beginning in this first couple issues. It's cool that he's able to like keep those characters going. But if you're just reading this and you're not sure how long the series is gonna go, you don't know what the writer has planned. It just kind of seems like thrown in action for action's sake. Yeah. Like it's just kind of not story driven necessarily. It's just like, oh, now you're gonna fight this guy, and he comes back, and he keeps coming back. Just has like a gag in these first 4 issues. It's only like cool or whatever later on when it pays off that he's continuously. Maybe if he was like the big bad at the end or something like that, that'd be funny. But like, and I feel like that it's kind of like when Green Lantern goes bad in the 90s, you're like, wow, these are terrible comics or whatever, right? But then when Jeff Johns came back and revamped it, you're like, oh, that's cool now. Because even a better example for other people is the Spider-Man movies. So like everybody talks shit about the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies, or even Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire, and then they make this new one where they kind of redeem the old stuff and they give it like context of it's all a broader universe and it all ties in and makes sense now. And like now everybody's like, oh, I'm going to go back and watch those with the context that it's in this new movie kind of thing. Yep. So it makes them better or worse or whatever, whatever context you watch it in. But like that's for a lot of people, it made those older ones that they didn't like better because it's all funny in the context of this is the real Superman this is not Superman. This is the real Spider-Man. And, this is what's going on now in the Marvel universe that makes sense. So like, it's like that where like, if the zombie twins are just there to fill up the issue as bad guys for 30 pages or whatever, you're like, oh, why are these here? Like nothing's happening. But then later on they come back, it would be better. But just as like a whole, I was like, oh, some of these parts are just continuously talking and they're supposed to be funny. Like there's back and forth, jibes or jibs, whatever what do you call it? Jabs. There you go. Back jibs, jabs.
Like the kind of his jib.
Yeah. And so it's like there's weird stuff like that in it where I was just like the flow of this comic is weird, but like maybe it pays off later, and you would know because you read more of it. So
well, yeah, and like I said, that only came to me as I was reading this. I was like, oh, I remember this happens. I remember that happens. But yeah, I will say, revisiting this one, only because I had some of that other context. I think I enjoyed it more. But I definitely reading it now, I was like, oh, I see who this was more written for now. I definitely was like, oh, I definitely like this more when I was younger.
Yeah, well, okay. Also, we should say so John grew up Catholic, but he is not so much anymore. So like when he looks at this, when he read it before, it was like, haha, the Pope. Like, you know, like it's kind of funny, or like, we'll say naughty or whatever, because it's like, haha, I'm not supposed to read this or whatever, or not supposed to, like, you're not supposed to say these things about the Pope or whatever. Yeah. But now you're just kind of like, okay, whatever. Like, I don't feel the same way about it. So, I could see that. I kind of said it was kind of like when you watch like a Kevin Smith movie or something in your teens, and you're like, oh my God, this is so funny.
Best ever, yeah.
Yeah, or this is so clever or whatever. And then you read it in your or you watch it in your 30s, and you're like, all right, like, I mean, it's kind of dumb, and like, I could see it. It's kind of funny. I can see why I thought it was funny when I was a kid, but like, it just doesn't, like, you've seen so much more clever or funny stuff to compare it to that it just doesn't quite land anymore, and you're just a different person than you were back then. Yeah. And so I was asking John earlier, like, is this like that for you? Like, where it doesn't quite land like it did before? Yeah,
very much. Like, I that's one thing, like, because when I sold a lot of my comics, like when I moved with my wife, we had to, like, we'd make room for things.
Ladies hate comics, you know?
Yeah, the ladies.
Wives are like, get rid of your
it's funny.
books.
It's like, you're such a nerd. Like, why do you have all this nerd stuff? And then as they like get,
they can have plants and nails though. They can do nail stuff as much.
Yeah, but I was also like, as you like grow closer as a couple, and then you start.
I'm just kidding. I love you, honey.
Start getting into things, and it's like, oh, well, I like my wife sounds like, oh, I love Star Wars. And, oh, I love. You can buy that $350 scale replica of the Razor Crest from The Mandalorian. I think it's cool too.
I didn't even know what you just said, but yeah, okay.
You know what I said.
Nerd stuff. I just heard nerd stuff.
As I peer to my right at this gigantic.
Don't you talk about my child? Swamp Thing is a person, and he lives in my house now.
You just go up and like, here you go. Here's your.
Yeah. You don't see all the dried applesauce on the ground or whatever. No. I had, you go to my house. There's a bunch of nerd stuff. So. And my wife's, I'm just joking about her not liking my comics because they're all over the place. Yeah. She's very tolerant of my addiction / hobby.
She's a nerd in a lot of different ways too.
Different ways, but yes. I mean, like, I appreciate the fact that she lets me have stacks of comics on our dining table when I'm trying to organize and things like that. So,
she's a good sport.
It's a lot. She's a good sport, and I love you, honey. She doesn't listen to this, so it doesn't fucking matter. But
we love our wives, but they don't support us.
Yeah, not at all. I
don't remember the last time.
They don't support us by listening. They support us by tolerating our incessant talking about comics and or having to meet to record and all that kind of stuff.
True. I remember the last time she said she listened to one.
That's
like
fine.
Maybe episode 10.
It'll be this one, and then she'll get mad that we're talking about it.
I listen to every single one. I just don't tell you about it.
Yeah. Anyway, so that being said, with the way you viewed it, like going back and reading it again, what'd you think, and what would you give this one? I'm
gonna give it a 6. Okay. I feel like it was still fun. There were still parts I really enjoyed. There was some of the art. Sometimes, like I said, the story was a little like, what happened there? I didn't quite like. I had to like kind of refocus and look at a couple things. And I definitely the context of like, oh, I remembered more things that happened down the road that made me be like, oh, like more nostalgic for it. But like as just this first individual, I was like,
yeah, if you picked it up fresh,
yeah, it was like it was okay. Like it wasn't like it wasn't as fond as I remembered it, but it still had enough that I was like, oh, it was fun. It was a quick read. It's only 4 issues. It was a quick read. Although I will say with this collection, we talked about this too. It's like they don't break it up like they do.
Yeah, it's just one continuous story.
So you don't kind of know where the where those breathing points are, where you would have been like, oh, well, that's how that ended. Like
it's weird because even with other series, you can tell where the breaks are. Like, oh, they don't pick up like the next panel.
Yeah,
these pick up like the next panel because they just keep going, and I'm like, did I miss? Like, we're already 30 pages in. There's no way the first issue of this was over 25 pages. You know what I mean? So
I think the first time I looked at what page I was on, because I was like, I think the first time I looked at that, where like what page I was on like page like 58. I was like, oh, like I definitely have gone past an issue.
Yeah, I was just reading and I'm like, how long is this first issue? And then I was on page 40 and I'm like, well, that's weird. Like there's no way the first issue of this was 40 pages. Like, and then I put 2 and 2 together, like, oh, we are like pretty far. I bet there was a break that I just didn't notice, because they literally do pick up pretty close to like where the last issue like panel was. So like in time, as far as time goes, there's no time separation.
Yeah, no, yeah, literally, yeah, it would be that there's like no time.
Yeah. And I think it was like in the second issue, it would have been like when the zombies show up. That's when, but they show up like right as the demon gets defeated from the first issue. So it's kind of like, oh, it just seems like they walk into the room and there's the zombies, but it's like, oh, I guess there was like a
this
there.
Yeah, this felt like the transition from The Last Jedi to The Rise of Skywalker, as opposed to all the other Star Wars movies.
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's the only, like, all the other Star Wars movies, there's a somewhat significant gap of time where like things transpire, and then Rise of Skywalker to Last Jedi to Rise of Skywalker, it's like probably hours. Or I mean, maybe not hours. Maybe it's like a little bit of time, but it's not that long a time.
Cool.
Anyway, like, okay, nerd. Anyway,
God,
stop with all the Star Wars
nerd
stuff.
shit. Jesus.
I think that is because I'm getting all these messages. When are you guys reading your next Star Wars?
We have not gotten any messages about the next Star Wars.
I read all of the messages we get, and we've never gotten one of those.
Yeah, I get the emails and the messages too, John, and no one has ever said, when are you going to read the next Star Wars book? So,
but what are we reading? We're reading Springtime.
Well, I didn't give my thing yet.
Oh,
hey, John.
Nobody cares.
Probably not, but I'm going to give my goddamn.
No, I'm so sorry.
Anyway.
I can't believe I did that. I'm sorry.
Jesus, John. Anyway, so my rating, because I read it too, John. Like I said, I had a little issue with like you were saying the timing of stuff in the comic. I just felt like it wasn't quite and I say this. I'm holding it to a higher standard because these are the writers and creators of Walking Dead and Invincible, and they came out around the same time as this, so they weren't like noobs who don't know anything about comics putting out their first comic. This was like, something that should have been fairly as polished as those were, and it didn't feel like that to me. So like, I know it's supposed to be a comedy book, but the flow of the panels and the reading order and all that stuff should have been better, I thought. So and also I'm not Catholic. I wasn't raised Catholic, so while I know who the Pope is and I know stuff about, religious stuff or whatever, I'm like reading it. I was just kind of like, And I will say I did laugh out loud a couple times when Jesus would talk, but the rest of the time, all the jokes kind of just fell flat. They didn't hit me like hard at all, or even enough to get like a chuckle or anything. Maybe like a thought like, oh, that was a joke. Like,
well, that was a
joke. But not like a laugh or even a chuckle internally or anything. So I think this is like a comic that if you grew up Catholic and you're kind of younger and you're not separated from that religion as long or at all, it might land harder because like it means more to you or whatever. Like the fact that they're parodying stuff means more to you because you're still in it. You know what I mean? So, just a lot of the stuff was kind of and because of that, the story itself is just kind of like, like it only matters if you like care about the Pope or things like that, So that's kind of like the conceit you have to make in order for this book to really work is you give a fuck about the Pope. So it's a very like niche market or like target market is like people who understand Catholicism well enough that they know all this stuff about the Bible and everything, and also that they care about the Pope or being blasphemous or parodying the Pope or any of that kind of stuff. And yeah, I don't know. It's just a very like niche target market. So I could see why this hasn't yet blown up. Maybe, like you said, maybe it'll be on HBO or something. But it's just definitely not my kind of thing. Even the humor, like I said, didn't hit me very hard, except a couple times when Jesus was basically, like I said, the dude from Big Lebowski. And so I was just like, okay, that was funny, that little line or whatever. But most of the stuff didn't hit. And I just kind of felt like it didn't matter. And on the upside, because it didn't matter and the dialogue was pretty flowing and everything, like it went by really fast. I read 120 pages in like less than a half hour. So that's pretty fucking fast for a comic. So, I mean, that's an upside for me that it didn't take forever, because sometimes we've read comics that we don't like and they do take forever to get through because they're from like the 90s or the 80s or whatever, and they just continue to talk and describe what's in the panels and stuff. So I will give it that. But yeah, I didn't really like this one. You're gonna give it a 6 because you actually have fondness and you know what happens. But I have no interest in reading this further. I think this is probably the biggest division we've had so far.
Ooh.
I'm gonna give this a 4.
Oh wow, yeah. Usually we're like 1.5 points apart, so that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a 4 because I just have no interest of reading it further. And like I said, I am not the target audience for this book. Like any of the religious parodying stuff, I just don't care about. It doesn't do anything for me, I guess, comedy wise. So I don't know. I feel like I haven't watched Dogma for a really long time. I might feel the same way about that as I do this.
No, yeah.
Like I don't know, like some of those movies that I thought were so clever when I was in high school or whatever, just like the ideas, the concepts are for someone who is like still in it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'm far removed from any of those ideas, so it just seems silly to like parody it even, So I don't know. It's weird. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4. You're gonna give it a 4. John, what are we reading? I'm sorry, you gave it a 6. I'm going to tell you, you're giving it a 4 too.
since you wouldn't even let me give mine, I'm going to tell you what you were giving it.
Exactly. So I give it a 4. John gives it a 6. What are we reading next time, John?
It's springtime. The flowers are blooming. The animals are out pouncing around.
Doing what they do.
And so we were looking at like ones to read, and I was like, I've seen the covers for those, but I've never read them. And it's like, oh, well, then we're going to read them. I think you'll love them.
I think John will love these.
So we're gonna read Mouse Guard.
Mouse Guard,
which the only thing I know about it is little mice have little like swords. They look like little knights, and they're like, I guess they do battle with other mice and or other woodland creatures from what Mad said. So
yes, and this was a series that came out in 2005 or 6. It might have been 2007. I think it's 2007 because I was already working at the store, and it was a weird shape, which I remember being annoying. Yeah, it's a square shape book.
Yeah.
So the pages are like maybe like 6 inches tall, and they're about 8 inches wide or something. So
be honest with me, because I think part of the reason I didn't check it out, Andor, was like because I was like, oh, this is probably for kids. But it seems
you could definitely read it as kids. It is kind of violent.
Yeah.
I would give it to like an 8-year-old is fine to read it. It's not very complex. I wouldn't give it to a little kid, but there is violence with animals, so like, it might be pretty hard. But it is pretty hardcore. Like those mice fuck some shit up, know.
Awesome.
So, but I will say like it's really well written. It's won an Eisner, so it's like not just a kid's book or whatever. But honestly, if you can write a book that is for everybody, that's best, right?
Oh yeah, you get you get all of the audience.
Yeah,
all the audience.
And it's still fun. It's kind of like the Redwall books or, like Disney movies that are they have kids stuff in them, but you can also watch it as an adult and appreciate it.
Yeah. Most of the stuff that's like Pixar, Disney now has been like that. I feel. Like.
But even like the old stuff, like you watch Robin Hood from Disney, and it's like, well, I still think like every town has its ups and downs. Like I still like that stuff, even though. Yeah, you still watch it as an adult. You can still appreciate the story and everything. So I think it's got a good story overall. And even though it's well drawn and obviously for kids, or like kids can get into it as well, it does have some pretty violent stuff. Or it's. I just remember it being like pretty like it's funny because they're like talking mice, but they're so like we have to save our country or whatever. And you're like, okay, how hard are we going to take this? Like how seriously can we read this book kind of thing? But I mean, it makes you get into it, So, but we're going to read the first volume, which I think is just like the first 4 issues of it. I can't remember what the name of it is, but yeah, it's volume 1 of Mouse Guard. And so, like I said, that's kind of like the Redwall book series or one of those. It's, anthropomorphic Templar Knight kind of, medieval styled story. So, but it is set in our world where like everything's bigger and they're mice and they have like little mouse cities underground and things like that. So
nice.
It's cool. So yeah. Well, with that, if you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can email us at planetrainsandcomicbooks, all one word, @gmail.com.
And don't forget about our Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube channel for exclusive content. We also have our coffee page. That's ko-fi/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word. If you
forgot the .com.
Oh, I forgot the .com.
Yeah.
Okay, ko-fi.com /planes, trains, comic books, all one word. that's if you want to see everything that we've done the week, you can sign up and subscribe there. Get our little newsletter. It has all of the links to our videos and audio files that we have, as well as a place to donate if you so like to, or sign up for one of our tiers for extra exclusive content.
Yes, not only exclusive content, but you can suggest to us a book you want us to read, especially if you've been listening and you're like, why haven't they done this book?
Why haven't they done my favorite book of all time? Yeah. Everybody should know about it.
If you want us to force us to read that, I guess you should say. If you want us to say, hey, dummies, why haven't you read this yet? Please read it. You could do that by subscribing to our blue and gold tier, which is $2 a month, and you could tell us what to read once a month. We're doing right now until we get too many people. But
we'll have to space it out.
Initially, you could tell us once a month what you want us to read, and we can space it out. Like you said, just so. We're still covering some books that we want to read, but generally we will get to everything that people suggest. So if you want to do that, like I said, just go to ko-fi.com/planes, trains, and comic books, all one word, and tell us what you want us to read. And with that, we'll see you guys on the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.